Well, folks, I saw Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Let me tell you, I didn't hate the film. Who am I kidding? The film was fantastic. You know, I often get accused of hating everything. They're not entirely wrong, mainly because most of entertainment is crap. But not this film. It is very apparent that this movie was made by someone who cares about film, who cares about the audience and the movie-going experience, and cares about the fans, which is what we have not been getting from most of Hollywood these days. Hell, Tom Cruise actually showed up at the beginning of the film thanking the audience for showing up and watching the film in the theater as it was intended. You didn't see that from Disney? As a matter of fact, you saw it 2 weeks later where they marched out poor Harrison Ford and he's like, "Please go watch my movie. I'm contractually obligated to say this." Harrison Ford doesn't give a shit if you show up and watch the movie, but clearly Tom Cruise does, and it shows, not just in his words, but in the film itself. Yes, the summer of blockbuster is back, and it's called Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. It's very apparent that crazy-ass Tom Cruise knows what audiences wants and willing to give it to them. Unlike other studios that are driven by ideology, Hollywood, you really need to take note here, because if you want to put butts in seats, this is the way you do it. Not garbage like Indiana Jones 5, or The Little Mermaid, or The Flash, or whatever garbage you guys are putting out these days that nobody's showing up to watch. Your modern audience wants to see movies like Mission Impossible 7. Why? Because it's fun, it's exciting, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. There was zero identity politics, zero preaching, zero current day nonsense in this film, and it was a shitload of fun. And let's be honest, there's very attractive women in it too. I'm not going to complain about that. Speaking of the ladies, you have 4 amazingly done female characters, all of them with their own agency, and none of them came off as being Mary Sue's. They all had their strengths and their flaws, much like their male counterparts, and that's how it should be. You know, the funny thing is, there are several parallels I can see with this film in Indy 5. You have the character of Grace, who is played by Haley Atwell, and she is a thief who is clearly over her head in this movie, but she also has her strengths. She's an amazing pickpocket, very charismatic and charming. Everything that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is not. Everything that Indiana Jones 5 did wrong, this movie did it right. But unlike Helena, Grace actually has a story arc and development as a character throughout the story. It's amazing what happens when you write a character that is actually a human being. They're actually relatable. Go figure. And again, this is because they were not pandering to some kind of social justice narrative. And what we get on film is a woman acting like a woman instead of acting like a man. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just because you have a female character who's acting feminine and female doesn't make the character weak. And all the fight scenes involving the women come off as them being well trained and not overly powered. These characters are not Mary Sue's, and yes, they get overpowered by men because men are stronger than women. Biological facts. But that doesn't mean that they can't hold their own in certain circumstances. The character of Paris is a perfectly good example of this. She is well trained, and with a weapon in her hand, she is very deadly. And she is the right amount of crazy and the right amount of hot. So let's talk a little bit about the story. Ethan Hunt is called back into action for the 7th installment of Mission Impossible, where he has to go and save the world from a rogue AI, but the nations of the world want to go and capture it and use it for their own devices. Realizing that no man, woman, or nation should possess this kind of power, he goes and sets out to destroy the AI. And let's just say a lot of badassery ensues in the process. Now, I don't want to go too much deeper into the plot because you should see it. It's a good film. This is what Hollywood used to be like when it made fun, exciting action films. It was very apparent that the majority of the film was shot using practical effects and not on a volume set. And it shows. It looks real because it is. And the result of this is that during some of these high intense action scenes, you will be sitting on the edge of your seat. There are stakes and tension in this film, and it feels real, which is a rarity most of the time from films coming from Hollywood these days. Filmmaking was looked upon as being an art form at one point in time, and not just going and generating content like what we've been getting lately, specifically from Disney or Warner Brothers. Dead Reckoning is a film that cost $291 million, and it looks like it went into the film and not just up some executive's nose. Which means that for this movie to break even, it needs to make $1 billion. And to be profitable, it needs to make way more than that. Yes, that is a huge budget and a huge gamble, but it's one I bet that will go and pay off. Very rarely do I actually want to go back to a theater and watch a film, let alone one that is damn near 3 hours. This is something I'm usually a huge stickler on because 3 hours is too fucking long for a movie. But this one was actually pretty well paced and it didn't feel like a 3-hour movie. I didn't keep checking my watch and I didn't want to stab myself in the eye with a straw from my drink. That's saying something. So yes, I would actually like to go and watch this movie again in the theater. So Hollywood, pay the fuck attention to what this movie is doing. Because clearly, you've forgotten how to make films and make money doing it. Dead Reckoning is the perfect example of how you should be doing that. It's called making an entertaining product that people actually want to go and see. Go figure. So anyway, I recommend watching the movie, in case you haven't noticed. So go out there and support this movie with your dollars because it is well worth it. And it will go and send a message to Hollywood on what they need to do going forward. Anyway, that is my take. What is yours? Are you planning on seeing Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this review, something should be popping up right about here. Go and check it out. And I'll catch you next time.